One, two, three, one, two, three.
1, 2, 6, 1, 2, 6.
And welcome to another episode of the Fatherly Love Podcast. My name is Nikola, and this is my brother Rajko. And today we have a couple of interesting topics to talk about. Uh, there's going to be a little bit of a shift from the last episode. Obviously, we're going to go back to our standard structure. So, what do we have today, Rajko?
Yeah, for today, we're starting with something very, very interesting and something that's actually being a struggle, and that we noticed that a lot of people are pointing it out uh, at this period of time where there's been a lot of culture surrounding the work and how to raise kids with both parents being engaged in jobs, right? Often the times you hear, oh, yeah, before it was easier, you only a father had to work, and then mom would stay with kids and raise them, and it was easier. You didn't have to babysit, you didn't have to pay for the daycare, you didn't have to think about these things, blah blah blah. It was easier back then, and etc. etc. Right? So, interesting thing for both of us is that both of our parents, when we were young, were both working. They were working quite a lot, and pretty much we were taking care of ourselves. And in as we mentioned before, in a couple of instances, it was a fearsome, fearsome fight. But yeah, we were managing it.
Yeah, survival of the fittest was every day during the school week for sure. We had a lot of power struggles. The 6 year difference between the two of us definitely presented a lot of challenges. I would say that some of them were great, some of them were pretty bad for us and for our development as brothers. Because for the longest time, actually, probably until I was 17 or 18, we were clashing all the time regarding everything. And you can only imagine what a boy that's going through puberty and a boy that's starting school is going to look like. It was like all out war. So
Yeah,
it was, now when at least for me, when I think back at it, it was we were bonding, but we didn't even know we were bonding. It was just not a fun bonding experience. But now looking back at it, I learned a lot of things from that, and how to have a healthy relationship with my brother, to where I trust him with everything. I can talk to him about everything, and it's just great. It didn't drift us apart, is my point. And some kids, to some kids, it might be completely the opposite, where if they grew up not around their parents a lot, if they worked, uh, it can set these boundaries where they can't understand each other. The siblings just kind of drift apart and they go their separate ways, and that's sad to see.
yeah. And for me, the most interesting part of all of that was how our parents managed doing that. Obviously, it was a different time, and I'm a great preacher of, it's not so much about time, it's about people, how we change perception. But back at the time, we were both walking to school. It was not far. It was now it's a 5 minute walk from our house, but you're going through. You have to cross a very very heavy load traffic road, and our parents were trusting us with that. They also trust us with reheating our own food. We didn't have microwave. We had to reheat it in the stove, and usually I was the
It
one
was
who
it
was in
was it was
charge
a
of that.
gas stove. I want to emphasize on
Gas
that. When
stove,
we're
yeah,
when we're
gas
growing up,
stove,
it was a
yeah,
gas stove.
yeah, yeah. So we learned all the procedures and how these things should work and what to do and how to let the gas into from the valve and into a stove and how to be careful with it and stuff like that. And the it turned out really nicely. Um, Honestly, I think our parents had uh, such a hard time with dealing with it, but they were managing it, and I think that it was a great opportunity for us to learn now, myself as a parent, how to deal with things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Children independence is often Such a scary topic for parents because back in the day, like when you think about boys just going outside and doing whatever they're doing, right? Like that's what we had, and we would go to our grandparents and they would just let us go outside, go hang with friends, build a wooden base or whatever we were doing, and we would cut ourselves and have bruises and all these
Keep
different things.
ourselves and
And you would
yeah,
learn from those experiences like, oh, I messed up my ankle. I got to be careful how I land when I'm jumping from high points or whatever. Like simple things like
exactly.
that is you didn't have your parents telling you, hey, be careful how you jump there because you might sprain
Watch
your
out. You
ankle.
have exactly. You have to land properly, not twisting your ankle, and it's very important for you to pay attention, be careful, and don't jump from too uh, high. You know, like whatever. I don't know. I think overprotection nowadays is a huge problem, and I think that our parents did a great job with trusting us. They struggled with their own thing because they couldn't make it. They were pretty much, trying to fit and to match ends. But I think that they did a great job on, making us independent individuals and raising healthy kids.
Yeah, and just to connect on that, and it was a different time. So Raiko grew up in the '90s. I grew up. I mean, from when I was a little, not a toddler, but ages 6, 7, and up. I was early 2000s. Raiko was in the '90s, and it was a different time. It was you trusted people more. It was in some ways safer. In some ways, it was more dangerous. But it always reminds me of this documentary I watched a couple of days ago with my wife. And in Iceland and Ireland, if babies, for example, are in a stroller and you want to go inside of a supermarket, they will leave the stroller outside. They will let the baby sleep, and it's like a very common
Normal thing.
and
Yep.
a common thing. You trust your community because the community cares about the actual future of the country. Then another crazy example is children in Japan will be 4 and 5 and 6. They would be navigating on their own. They have a little yellow bow tie, not a bow tie, it's like a bib almost that they
Yep.
wear, and that gives adults the basically a highlight and say, "Hey, this
Signal.
child
Yep.
is very little. They might need help with certain things." And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And actually, my wife showed me a video last night where in Japan they teach basic courtesy to kindergarten kids. So there was a little girl who's like 5 years old. She pretended that she was pregnant. There's a kid that was pretending that he was going to school. There was one kid that had a cane, so he was pretending he's an old person, and it's like a bus situation, right? So one kid would be driving, pretending to drive, and all the other kids would be sitting. And as like the old person got on the bus, somebody like a kid would stand up to let them sit down. And it might seem silly, but all these different things shape you the way you are as an individual when you hit your puberty, when you hit your adolescence age, right? 18, 21. It's these formative years that are very important. And I feel like, especially in the West, there's so many things that are being overly protected and not thought that, in a way, make these new generations not dumb, but very emotionally dull. And they don't really get the social cues and signals about these little things that are uh, very easy for other kids, for example, in Japan to understand, and Iceland, Ireland, just these little examples. And I
Here's the thing.
think,
The biggest difference I think is that um, is the culture of like being aware of surroundings and having help from your community.
yep,
And U.S. is and West like Canada, U.S. are more of individualist countries, right? Everything you do for yourself. Look about yourself, care for yourself. Da 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 da. Be careful, stuff on streets are happening. Lock your cars, lock your doors, lock your houses. Things like that. Around everybody's driving, nobody's walking, and everybody's a danger and stuff like
yeah,
that.
it's a very
While I
isolated,
think
much more
in
isolated.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. But moving on from this, we have a bunch more examples, and actually, next episode, I might want to talk to you guys about something that our cousin was telling us about Australia and how they handle certain things. But we will do that probably next episode. Now, we did want to touch on um, media, so newspaper, TV, social media, how news are being placed. And we thought about this because our mom was actually a journalist, and she was one of those journalists that everybody was afraid of because she did not, she was not influenced by anybody. She did not let anybody take down her autonomy, and that's basically why she left the journalist world, because she saw that she can do what she wanted to do. She couldn't report on things how she wanted to report on things, and unfortunately, she had to leave that field. Now, we see a lot of information being passed around, whether it's for parenting, whether it's for politics, whether it's for religion, sports, anything that has drama involved in it, people will cling into it because newsletters, TV shows, news on the TV, they will all place it in some way or another that benefits their
Yep.
platform, obviously. And what do you think about that, Raiko?
Well, I'm totally agreeing with you. It's just um, some things in this world right now are very easily manipulated with, and media is having a huge deal with it. So what's going on is we have a couple of things going on, and it's just crazy to use someone's tragedy has a cover story. Um, and we are just talking, for example, at this moment, we're talking about the situation with the Titan. Um, we have that submarine that tragically, obviously, imploded with six
Five people on board.
people on five.
Yep.
All right, five people on board. And for me, it's crazy. I mean, I didn't dig too much in it, but what triggered me and like made me go in this direction of for this episode is that I was watching one reel on Instagram, and while we were covering and being so preoccupied with Titan, there were other things that were happening around the world. J.P. Morgan and Jeffrey Epstein's emails were leaked out, and then the other day just accidentally deleted. Um, you know, um, those are pretty big names, and that is a pretty big thing to happen just accidentally. We had Joe Biden for his House impeachment or something like that. 6 billion of U.S. dollars help for Ukraine. There were also some FBI whistleblowers gone missing for hoax with Russia, and etc. etc. So I did not go too much into depth with checking out these information, and that is the biggest issue here because nowadays you don't know what's true and what's not. But what is raising big red flag for me is that it's so many things just working at one same time, and I think you, Nicola, mentioned that Barack Obama mentioned a
Yeah,
ship
so
that
he
sank with 700 people.
Yeah, so he had an interview and he was talking to a crowd, and he's like, it's crazy to me that everybody's talking about, and I'm not quoting him, but in a sense, this is what he said. I
Interpreted,
can't.
yeah.
Yeah, he basically said like, I can't believe that so many people, everybody's clinging on this little submarine. It's tragic. It's awful. I agree. But he said that there was a ship of 700 people that sunk, and nobody said anything, and that's what sparked this conversation between me and Raiko, because I said, imagine if there was five people that were scientists and they went down to see the Titanic and it imploded, but they had this, I don't know, imaginary goal that they were trying to test this new material for a submarine, right? And it imploded. The script would be completely flipped, and the media would be like, they wouldn't even be covering it, but in the news it would say, hey, five scientists, inventors passed away because the submarine imploded, but it wouldn't generate as many clicks because it's not billionaires that were on that trip. It wasn't a CEO that went on this trip of this company and made a huge mistake, tragic mistake that made the submarine implode. And the reason why we were even talking about these things is because this is all of these things, as minor as they are to our lives, they will affect our children. With the progress of AI, our kids are going to have even a harder time understanding what's real, what's not, what's a reliable source of news, what's not. It's going to be a very difficult um, thing for our children to navigate through information, right? Because internet brought information to everybody, but guess what? There's a lot of false information, there's a lot of biased information, and finding unbiased source of news is a very difficult thing. And we just think that it is, at least I think, that it is a very scary time for these new generations that are going to want to make decisions on their own, but they will not know if this is either AI generated, is it fake, is it planted by somebody else, is it a biased news outlet. All these different things are just pretty scary in this day and age.
For me, this nowadays is just going into the direction of, having this. We have to be very cautious with our kids using the social media, using technology, using everything. It's so approachable. Everybody's having it, but my opinion is that kids are just way too young to have their phones since they're toddlers holding in their hands all the time and just playing
But
with them. I'm not saying necessarily that it is a bad thing. We're moving in a very, very fast direction. Every year, we're just having so much faster processors, so much improvements in technology. Everything is moving so fast. Like in past 5 years, just take a look at past 5 years, we quadrupled in processor power and whatever. And it's just like impossible to follow, and it's impossible to get excluded and just not
not follow
use
it to some
these
extent.
technologies.
It's
Exactly.
funny that you
So we have
mentioned
to be
that.
very cautious. And yeah, and it's just something that for me, that is the like thing that worries me, right? If they're manipulating media so much, what are they going to be doing with our kids? I also watched a video of offended pedophile giving like having an interview, and one very, very interesting thing that was popping around was that what kind of families was he targeting? And the first thing he said, like, families I did not want to interfere with was where I saw a father as like a family figure, like, a dominant figure in family, where father
Or
was
present.
present, where father
Yeah.
was the one who was caring, the father who was involved in raising kids, which is very important. It's for me a very, very, very important thing. And it's just like so scary sometimes how internet can be a dark place.
Yeah, and our children having access to social media or whatever, it makes me think of my, I think, first or second grade in school. So I was about 8 years old, and I got my first cell phone. And I thought about it nowadays, and my stepson, he's gonna turn 8, and in no world do I need him to have a cell phone, because first of all, the way the school system is done here in the U.S., my child is going to be at school. I'm going to go pick him up every time. He's not going to walk to home. He's not going to go hang with friends, at least to this point, right? At least for another year or two. There's not going to be so many social events where he's going to be alone. So he doesn't need a cell phone. I had a cell phone when I was 8, but also my usability of that cell phone was very limited. I could text and I could call, right? If I had, funds in my account.
To
And
play Mozart
yeah,
the least.
yeah, yeah. And it was I think it was a great time because my mom could call me and be like, "Hey, where you're at," or she could text me, and she had that peace of mind, and I think it's very important. But nowadays, I think about it. I personally don't mind if children are having iPads and tablets, because I personally feel like they will have to know this at some point. So if they master it in the beginning, they'll be fine for the rest of their life. but also, being cautious and putting boundaries, not letting that be a all day thing, everyday thing. Um, and it's just very scary because now thinking about it, when Constantine turns 8 and he asks for a cell phone, my mind is gonna go to he can be followed by predators. He can, if he watches something on social media, he can be influenced in so many ways that it's just very scary. Um, but that brings us to another topic, which is a Serbian basketball player. So if you guys don't know, we're both Serbian, and Nikola Jokic is a NBA player, and I will let Rajko take lead on this one because I'm not big on sports. I don't know much about Nikola Jokic, but with the recent they won the championship, right? Or he had
So they won the NBA championship. He
okay
was named the All
MVP.
Finals MVP, and
Yeah.
he's just a great guy. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this today was, um, and what is making it interesting is that from the perspective, there's one opinion on him, um, that he is just doing the job, and everybody is hooked up on his um,
Expression.
say and expression when an interview told ask him after the finals. They're like, "How do you feel? You won the NBA championship." He's like, "The job is done. Now we can go home." And everybody and like, but he's such a serious guy. I think he's joking most of the times, and he's just having fun. And on on the conference after the game, I don't know, Nicola, if you saw that. One of the journalists asked him, like, "Are you excited about the parade that's coming up?" He turns up in shock, like asking his PR
Oh yeah,
person,
there's a
"Where's the
parade.
parade?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I saw
where's
that.
where's the parade?" And they're like, "It's
And
Thursday."
he goes
Oh
like
my
this. I gotta
God,
go
I have
home,
to
right?
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go home. Yeah. So yeah, and then they explain him you have to be there Friday, so you don't have to be there on Thursday. So and later on, he even on the parade said this was the best day of my life and stuff like that. But what I wanted to talk about is that his influence on the game and his influence on the NBA is minor comparing to how good he is. So he's having some crazy numbers. He almost finished season with a triple double, even though he the regular season did not got the MVP. He got the MVP for the finals. He played insanely good. He almost reached an average triple double in the finals as well, and he led Denver team, which I would not say was the best in the NBA this season. He led them to finals, and how he did it through team play. And he's not the most attractive player. He's not the one who's making crazy dunks, who is just dribbling the ball like crazy and having so much fun and jumping over people like Ja Morant, or shooting trees from the parking lot like Steph Curry, or being so physical and dominant like LeBron James and stuff like that.
But he
But
is consistent, and that's what a father should be.
yes, so what the thing that I want to just mention briefly on it is just, mm, I would like my kid to be like Nikola Jokic. He is just very humble. He always puts his team first because you're playing a team game. It's a team game. It's not one man show, right? It's a team game, and everybody achieves more together. So um, it was a very nice thing to see. And other than that, he's playing basketball because he loves playing basketball. He would not be on that level if he doesn't like it. And also he likes horses. So as soon as he finished his NBA finals, he go back to Sombor in Serbia. Sombor is a pretty small town. I would say
And
it
fun
has
fact,
around 20 or
our
30,
dad was born
20 or
there.
30 next to somebody. Yeah.
Yep.
So it has around 50,000 um 50,000
Residents.
inhabitants with residents, with around 100 with the surrounding area with small villages and stuff. So it's very, very small. And, he came there and I was watching when he came to that so the thing he wanted to go for when they told him the parade is on Thursday was the horse racing in Somewhat, and he was walking towards the stands and everything, and it's so humble and everything, and there's like 20 20 media guys just following him around. And I'm imagining, imagine if he showed, and there's not many people out there from like mm, people around town and fans. I'm like, imagine if he was showing up somewhere in US like that.
Yeah.
That would be crazy, right? But still, he's not that popular back in US because his game style is not being the most interesting. Kids are not looking
He's not a showman.
into him. He's not a showman. He's not someone who's drawing attention. But I think he should have um, much more spotlight and much more kids following him because of his attitude towards life, towards game, and how humble, nice, and I would say normal he is.
And he just seems like a very good father figure and a role model that
He
not just kids could
has a
follow, but
daughter and wife, and you know, daughter is everywhere with him and stuff, and he's even wearing his wedding ring on his shoelaces every game.
that's super cool.
He just looks such a nice guy to be a role model.
Yeah. That is awesome. It's good to see. We always had good people in sports. I'm talking about Serbia. I'm not talking about me. Maybe Rajko, but definitely not me. And that really brings us to our last big theme of this podcast, Rajko, which is
Which is future of space travel. So future of space travel, it's having so much. It was in like 6 months ago or seven. When was the Orbit X going? No, or Blue Orbit, or what is the
SpaceX.
name of the Jeff Bezos? SpaceX is Elon Musk, and what is the name of Bezos company? Blue Origin,
We are
is it?
taking a 5 second break due to technical
Yes.
difficulties and not enough knowledge from the host, Nikola.
Yeah, Blue Origin, I think. So Blue Origin, SpaceX, and Virgin Galactics are the ones who are fighting for dominance in this tourism space travel. Um, Virgin Galactic finally, after a couple of times and dates that they pushed their date for the flight, finally announced that they will be flying soon out of space for $450 US, like
Thousand.
5 minute, 450,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like 450 bucks. I'm going.
I'm in. Buy me 10.
And it just made us start talking about this because uh, when you think about us growing up in Serbia, for example, if we went on a 6 7 hour car drive somewhere, it would be like, oh, we're going on vacation, we're going so far away. And now 25 years later or 30 years later, there is, if you're a millionaire, you can just go and hop on a flight to space, to outer space. It's just mind blowing to even think about it. It makes you think about uh, life, makes you think about putting things in perspective. It also makes you think, at least for me, about if we're experiencing and living through this part of technology and development, what are our kids going to see? Um,
Yep.
it is incredible. It
It will
is.
be crazy to see, people just going out there and kind of landing on moon and having your kids like, oh, we're just going for a weekend to moon, like, oh, have fun, kids, right? Yeah, enjoy. You
Send me
want
a
to join that? Oh no, I have like space nausea. I can't really. It's just like I'm too old for that. You know. Enjoy
and then
yourself. Send some photos, and then they send you photos and videos from there, right?
yeah, I was gonna say it would be cool that I mean, probably, who knows, maybe in 20 years they'll be able to you know interlink with your computer system from Mars or some shit, and they're like, "Send me a selfie when you get there," and they send you a selfie on this barren rock.
First, let me take a selfie.
Yeah, it's it's crazy how fast technology
And
is
I
advancing.
think that these things, so I think that they're going to be developing so fast. And just imagine that. Imagine that you're having your kid and just like you're okay, let's go to a surprise travel, and you take them to the fucking astronaut base, and you just get in the rocket and you just all go up there, right?
Would you? So tell me this: even if you knew the the safety measures that they took and the risks and everything, would you just do it? Because I feel like if somebody offered me and said, "Hey, you can take your whole family as the first 10 flights to Mars," I don't think I would do it. I think I would be like, "Yeah, that's I'm not putting my family in that
I
kind of
don't
risk."
think I don't yeah, me neither. I don't think I would do that either. But alone, I would do it.
Really? Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, I wanted to go to Mars so bad. I even wanted to apply for that Mars colony, Mars One. There was a Mars One concourse or whatever, and I wanted to apply, and I even filmed a video, but I don't know if I have enough
Got
saved.
cold feet. Got cold feet.
Yep, yep. No, I'm just like I'm that kind of person that wants everything, and then just like don't end up doing a lot of things.
It is a
Yeah,
trait
I have a
we
question for you,
inherited.
Nikolai.
Uh,
Yes, it is inherited. How do you call a fake noodle? An impasta.
I was trying so hard to think of like something that would be remotely as clever. Oh, dad jokes are never gonna stop on this show ever. I don't want it
We
to
have to
ever
make
end.
Yeah, we have to make a like a button, and just like when either of us clicks the button, it just in the middle of the show it just yells.
We couldn't hear you because your voice was
Dad
too
joke
loud.
time.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry, all I heard was w- but definitely something, and we should actually that makes me think of making a list for our listeners, and we can maybe just have like a PDF file or put it up somewhere in the description where you can look up some dad jokes if you need them. It might be something to do in the future. And this brings us to the closing of this show, and also uh, a fear that we've seen in many parents. Me personally, I don't know about Raiko, but if you have, and this is a question for you listeners, if you want to send us an email at fatherlylovepodcast@gmail.com, if you didn't have kids and you're not planning on having kids, why? What is the reason behind it? We see so many people in our generation that are very scared for the future. They are almost making it seem like it's not fair to
They're
bring a
pessimistic. Yeah.
yeah, they're pessimistic in a sense of I don't want to bring my child into this world that is going to crumble in the next 50 years. um, so I think it's always an interesting topic to talk about because there is so many different opinions, and this is just one of them. There's a lot of people that say, "Hey, I just want to focus on me," and that's completely fine. Some of them say that we are harming the planet, and that's why I don't want to have kids, and that's a fair point for them. But if you have any specific reservations on why you don't want to have kids, please let us know. We would like to read through it and just spark some new conversations. But what about you, Raiko? Did you ever have any doubts about having children?
Never ever. I wanted to have kids. I want to have a lot of kids. Me and my wife, we were agreeing on it. Agreeing on it. Um, I don't know if so. Our dream is to have 6 kids, right? And now, as we're growing, I would say not older, but how the life moves and you see things and you're starting to feel economic pressures and stuff. It's just looking like something that's a far-fetched dream, right? But
Yeah.
even like for me, the biggest joy in life that you can have for me is coming back home to a full house of your kids and just jumping in the bed and there's like 8 of us in that bed and just having fun, right? We're going to a vacation. It's eight of us. We're family. We're just having fun, and we're just going out, and we're just, doing stuff together. And that is a dream. That is something that I want to work on. That is something my wife agrees on, and we want to work on that together. And she's such a great woman with handling now her pregnancy alone with a little kid. But yeah, I whenever I talk with people, they're usually like, "Oh my God, that's too much," or one of my colleagues, "Oh my God, that's disgusting." I'm like, yeah, she was like, "That's disgusting. I don't want kids." She's like, "I don't want kids. Look how many of us are on planet Earth." I'm like, "What about?" Like, yes, we are. There's too many people on Earth, but not on Earth. On certain places, yes, but not on Earth. We're still 90% of planet is still untouched.
Oh,
There's
that
so
actually,
much.
there's so much we can do, and that actually,
Exactly.
voice crack. But that actually makes me think of a theme for next episode, which is survivability on Earth and all this. I've read a couple of articles about lab grown meat and more and more hydroponic farms and uh, so many things that are gonna affect us and our children. That there are so many things. I just want to keep this episode going
Oh yeah.
forever now.
Well, dude, it's never been easier to, like have, I would say, not kids, but it's never been easier if you said survivability. It's never been easier to survive in this earth. Like anywhere you go now, you have your phone, you have your survival mode,
Yep.
right? It's like a cheat sheet. I can't imagine people getting outdoors and just having their battery drained out. I think that that will be like a huge
Disaster.
panic attack.
My internet went down for like an hour and a half. I thought I was gonna like jump out of my skin.
That's so funny.
It was a
Like
tragedy. It was like the house was on
honestly,
emergency mode. What do we do?
honestly, one of the favorite things to me to happen is forgetting my phone home. Like, dude, that's so like relaxing.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly,
We don't realize it
I just don't even
until
try to get back to it.
yeah, I'll be
I just leave it.
fine.
I just say, "Oh, dude, I forgot my like my phone at home. I'm sorry." Like, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, it is great. So that was just a just a little reminder. Go outside, touch some grass, but don't do it too much. Just remind
Mhm.
yourself you're human, and that there's nature
Exactly.
outside and all that.
Yeah.
But
There's people in your house as well, probably. If
go
you are
say hi,
alone,
see what they're
go
doing.
outside, go to the bar, just in traditional way, you don't have to swipe on Tinder. You just can go and meet people outside in the real world.
Yep.
Like crazy.
Yeah, there's so many new topics that are popping into my head, and we can keep this
Oh
show
yeah.
going
Oh
probably
yeah.
for another 2 3 hours. But we're gonna wrap it up here. Uh, Again, if you have any suggestions or anything you wanted to talk to us about, if you have any questions, let us know at fatherlylovepodcast@gmail.com. So we can get to it. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're listening in on other platforms, please give us a follow and leave a like if that platform has that feature so you can keep up with new episodes that are coming out. We appreciate you all joining in and listening in. We will see you all with some more interesting themes in a couple of days or maybe a week. Being a parent and being busy,
Who knows? Yeah.
sometimes it takes a little bit for us to find
Having
some
like
time.
three jobs at the moment does not help with your free time. So
Yeah.
this is gonna be the wrap up. So thank you guys very much. Uh, my brother here got a little bit off topic, but yeah. Uh,
We will see you all soon.
we'll see you all soon.
Have a
Yeah.
wonderful day,
So
guys.
thank you very much for tuning in. I hope it was helpful for you guys, and then just we'll try and keep up the content alive and talk about some other fatherly things that we see as challenges in today's world.
We'll see you soon. Have a great day. Bye.